Here is the burial place of our first rector, Bishop William Edmund Armitage. You see, he was 43 years old when he died. His wife and 3 infant sons are also buried here as well. It's considered a very large burial plot. It's you can see the stones in front, 3 boys, twin boys, and then another son, all died in infancy, and then Bishop Armitage in the center. And his wife, Charlotte, who lived until the 1920s. I guess she was a little younger than he was, and she lived to a fine older age, and is buried with him. The telegram announcing the arrival of her body from New York is still on file at the cemetery office. What is not at all mentioned on this monument is St. John's Church, and it's a project that we are looking into because there is a side of the church that does not have any markings. The one time Episcopal congregation has its own section of the cemetery here. There was a time when that was debated at St. John's whether or not to purchase an entire section of the cemetery just for St. John's burials, but I think the thought was that so many people had already had family plots that they decided to just let the cemetery do the burial business and not the church. Turn one last time to the burial place of Henry Porter Baldwin, our founder. Let them be numbered with thy saints, glory everlasting. This being the big monument, burial places of his family, beloved ones, here. Harriet Cornelia was his first wife, who we have a full portrait of. You see she died relatively shortly after the founding of the parish. One child, Florence, who died when she was a little more than 1. Another child who died, Ella, who was less than 1. And a son, Frederick, who died when he was, looks like he was 4. Over here on this side is the stone for Henry Porter Baldwin himself. Here is Sybil Lemmer, the second wife. It's upside down, unfortunately. Here we go. Second wife, Henry Porter Baldwin. She was considerably younger than he was, and died in 1922, about the same time Mrs. Mrs. Armitage. And what's interesting about that is that Sybil, the second wife, and Charlotte, the wife of Bishop Armitage, are in fact sisters. Something I found out through a living relative of Bishop Armitage. Here we have the burial place of their son, George Rose. Lived to be, and it looks like he lived to be in his 30s or 20s. That would have been the first wife's son. Here's another child. 3 more children who died. Now the Roses actually are one of the daughters' families. Can't read the date on that. Here is Percy Rose, who married one of Henry Porter Baldwin's daughters. Unfortunately, an unreadable stone here without a name. You could find that in the files. On the monument, Henry Porter Baldwin's, some of his accomplishments. include being Senator of the United States and you Governor of Michigan. Next to Henry Porter Baldwin, we have the Trowbridge family, considered one of the founding families of Detroit, and the Sibley family. And the Sibley house is next to Christ Church, Detroit. Stream bed valley in the park, natural landscaping. It's here. The burial chamber is being built into the wall of the valley. This little creek, Bloody Run Creek. As the creek runs the road here and along the front here. This is, here we also have a columbarium chapel. Remains of, well, actually it's a above ground interment for caskets as well as ashes. Creek projects and foundations, dredging of the creek, of the pond. On the other side are some family mausoleums. This is the back side of the gatehouse. Where this arches here used to be what you drove through to get into the cemetery on renovation a few years ago. Made it into more office space.